cover later. Second is to integrate their competency, which is you, the students, in consulting with other professionals, okay, communicating their professional judgment, queries, and also concerns. This is quite understandable. And also CLO3, which is to assess the independent learning regarding the psychosomatic problem and subjective health problem. Okay, so now these are the chapters that we are going to cover throughout these courses. So the first is, of course, definitely to introduce you what is the medical psychology, okay, why you need to learn it, okay. Next is the psychological phenomenon. So to understand the intervention or the therapies that is being used in behavioral techniques, okay. From here, which is for this lecture class, we are going to learn about the behavioral techniques, CBT, REBT, and also PBT, REBT, and also behavior therapy. Have you came across with these terminologies before? No. Wow. Okay. The next is the psychological stress. Okay, what is the stressor? The stress response, and also the assessment of the stress intensity. Yeah, and then by the way, as I'm teaching, I will walk around. So hopefully you don't mind on that, yeah? Okay, and then next is the management of pain, okay, and discomfort, which is what are the types of pains, what are the principles, and also the pain control techniques, okay. And then next is the psychosomatic disorder. So what are the common, okay, psychosomatic diseases, and next is the psychological assessment. So of all the topics that I'm going to cover you, these are the topics that is within my specialty. In which is, if you want to know further, you can ask me. Which is psychological assessment, psychological tests, included intelligence tests, personality tests, okay, neuropsychological testing, and also the clinical rating scale. Okay, this is all, this one is not under my specialty, but still know about it, which is the psychotherapy, okay. It involves psychoanalysis, person-centered therapy, and also cognitive therapy. I will try to design it in a way that you are not learning it to become a counselor, but rather you are learning it in order to help to understand your client based on traditional Chinese medicine perspective. I try on that, okay, so in order to help you later in the future. Next is living with the chronic illness. What are the impact of the chronic diseases, okay, such as if you have a heart problem, okay, blood pressure, so how does it affect us, and coping with the illness as well. Okay, this one is also under my specialty, okay, which is the psychological counseling. What are the principles and techniques, okay, the patient psychological and also doctor-patient interaction skills. Okay. One of the most important part for you students, yeah? Okay. Realizing that this is a very short semester, so if I give you 4 assessments, you're going to die, I'm going to die as well, nothing for your, for your assignment. So what is going to happen, instead of 4, just divide it into 3 for your continuous assessment, okay? So the first is, of course, the group assignment. Okay, I use your word already. Group assignment. Okay, which is written. Next is the presentation based on your written assignment. The detail I will give to you on week 2. Okay, after the document is being approved. Okay, so assignment 20%, presentation 20%, and test 30%. So, in the case of presentation, the way I'm going, of course, there are criteria. So, one of the criteria that I'm adding is, you must ask questions to your presenter. There will be marks for that. Reason because after 1 year and a half teaching via not face-to-face, online, face-to-face is okay. You can ask the student to ask. Online, I feel like Dora the Explorer. I ask, I don't want to answer. So I add in the marks as well. So make sure you answer. You ask the question to the presenter. a little bit of tips because I'm a student as well. So if you want to be smart, easy. Counting among you, what are the questions, what are the answers? At least the process is there. Okay. For me to give you a mark. Try to be smart on that. Okay, and then in case of the test, of course, 20%. And then for the final assessment is 40%. Based on my experience, okay, based on my experience, assignment presentation, usually the students score because I'm quite okay in terms of giving you mark. I'm not that, like us expecting you like a master or PhD level, no, that's crazy. But usually the student will lose marks on tests and final examination. Therefore, you have your tutorial. And because faculty, they have different way of constructing the questions. So in your tutorial, I'm not going to give you the questions exactly in the final and the quizzes, no. But I will construct the format which is similar to it, to familiarize yourself on how to answer the quiz or final exam questions. So participation in the tutorial is very important. And I told you I am a statistic lecturer, so tutorial for me is very important to see, whether the student is interested in my courses or not. That is one of the human judgment that I can, give to you. So make sure get yourself involved with the tutorial. Other references. Okay, we are going to use these textbooks. Okay, need for a while. I know that the textbook is not much in the library. There's a form. So I will give it to you later after the class. But again, I need to believe in you lah. So don't tell the management and so on, because these soft copies is actually like it's a free access, but not that legal. But the thing is, if I will help you on that, if you want to rely on your library, which is only about 2 or 3 books, and there's only 10 of you, there's a 10 of you, then how come you want to refer? So I'm going to give you the soft copy. Okay, this is about me. I already introduced myself. My name, I'm a registered counselor, and currently I'm a panel counselor under LPPKM, which is Lembaga Pembangunan Penduduk Keluarga dan Masyarakat on Johor branch. So this is my qualification: Master of Education, Guidance and Counseling, Bachelor Degree of Regional Planning. It's a long story, so I don't want to cover. But we need to say that I'm teaching in SUC based most on the subject of the education, guidance and counseling. So my area of specialization is counseling psychology research, testing, measurement and assessment in counseling psychology, and also statistics in behavioral science. So this is my phone, you already have it. This is my email for you to submit your assignment. Okay, then in case if you want to meet me for consultation, make sure you inform me first, because this semester is quite short. You are not the only one who struggle with the 7 weeks. We the lecturer is struggling as well. So if you want to do a consultation, then you let me know. If you cannot see me face to face, it's okay. We have team, we can meet through. Okay, so for clear. Okay, so now let's go to chapter 1, which is introduction to medical psychology. You can refer to the notes. Basically, within the notes, I already provided you with the course papers as well, in case if you want to refer. So medical, just a little bit of preface, not a bit, actually a lot. Medical psychology has historically been defined as a branch of psychology concerned with the application of psychological principles to the practice of medicine. Okay, before I go to medical side, we need to understand why, as a PCM student, we need to learn this in the very first place. So, psychology, okay, the word of psychology came from Greek word which is psyche and also logos. So, logos is the knowledge, psyche is about the human mind. So, meaning to say, whatever that you think, whatever that you feel, and also about how do you react to the surrounding is considered under psychology. So it's very broad. Okay, this is psychology, and because it's about the study of the human mind, human behavior, cognitive, affective, and also psychomotor. So we need to say that it is very broad. Okay, very broad. Which is why medical is under psychology, counseling is under psychology, psychology itself is under psychology, health or sports is under psychology. So which is why you need to learn, because you are traditional Chinese medicine. You learn a lot about herbs, right? So when you learn a lot about the herbs, some of these herbs, they have the properties, okay, that either they will increase your heartbeat, either they will make you feel drowsy, and this may affect the way people behave as well. Okay, for example, last time I did ginseng. At night. Because I want to do my work, becoming a lecturer, have so many work. But you know what happened? After 4 a.m. in the morning, I cannot sleep. You know how it influenced me? I feel I want to bang my head. Few times, because I really want to cry. I just want to sleep. I cannot sleep. So just imagine, there are relationships. That is why you need to learn psychology, and in the case of here, which is more concentrated, which is the medical psychology. So, medical psychology shares with the field of health psychology and also behavioral medicine. It is a combination because it sees a person as a whole. So if you want to understand what are the medical problems underlying a person, you need to see as a whole. You cannot see only a part of it. Because if you don't give a right diagnosis to your patient, then you might give a wrong treatment. Once you give a wrong treatment, then it brings a wrong consequences. Okay, an interesting way in which the biological, psychological, and social factor interact to influence health. So the medical psychologists use psychological theories and principles in order to improve the health and well-being of patients with physical illness. So you see nowadays, everything is within our fingertips. So usually when we are feeling sick or what, we will search it from the internet. So the internet is very informative, but at the same time it is very informing. What does it mean informing? Just like a disaster, I mean to say that there's a lot of information. So if you absorb each and every of these medical information without the help of those health professionals, okay, this resulted into again getting the wrong information, wrong practice. It gives the problem to the person. The information that the patient got is wrong. So this is the importance of the medical psychology, whereby you use the knowledge of the medical psychology in case if there is a client who have this kind of so many wrong understanding because of the information that they got, then you can clarify. Meaning to say, it also emphasizes on the human interaction, not simply like not conventional. Usually I will go to the hospital nowadays, not even looking at the patient, just look at the computer. Okay, so what is your symptoms, sir? How long has it been? Okay, this is your medicine. How do I feel? You don't explain to me, so how do I feel? Why should I eat this medicine? You don't explain. So it resulted into grievance. So when such thing happens, I will have the tendency to find the information by my own through the internet. So this is where the medical psychology came in. Okay. So there are clinical psychologists who work in the hospital, okay, medical center, and also the healthcare facilities. So medical psychologists use technical psychotherapy, behavior modification, and cognitive, interpersonal, and family therapy to help patients manage illness, reduce physical symptoms of disease or treatment, and manage emotional aspect of their illness. So psychotherapy we are going to cover, behavior modification we are going to cover today, cognitive we are going to cover today as well, interpersonal not this week, another coming week, which is under counseling. Okay, family therapy, no. You want to know more? Do your own self reading. I'm not going to cover it for your very limited 7 weeks class. So, the area of the expertise of the medical psychologists are therefore, okay, psychotherapy, guiding the patient in the handling of psychological challenges that presents as a result of certain kind of ailment, and it is especially important to cancer patients. Reason of why? Because okay, there are things within our life that we can solve it constructively, but there are things that you don't have to choice. You don't have any choice. You have to go through it. So one of the examples is for those who are having cancer. So when you are the patient and then you are being disclosed by the psychologist, either medical psychologist or the psychologists who are working in hospital telling you that you already have a stage 3 or stage 4 cancer. So you only have how many years to live. So when such thing happens, that is something that you need to go through. Of course, constructively, means to take the medication, but at the same time, in terms of the emotions. Okay? Because no cancer, no one wants to die. If you want to die, I don't know what to say. Okay? So when such thing happens, this is where the psychotherapy is helping in terms of letting the client to become aware how to fulfill their life in a meaningful way, so they will have a better personal well-being. So when we talk about well-being, it's not about you don't have any disease at all, no. But you live your life to the fullest. That is the layman term. Okay, behavioral treatment, which is coming up with strategies that will help a patient develop a positive attitude and better stress handling mechanism for the overall health of a person. We are going to cover a lot after this. Prescription of treatment geared towards those sick people who may be handling mental health challenges, whether resulting from a physical condition or not. And this is because you will also have a medical training. And lastly, the pain control. Okay, the medical psychologist also does the work of helping patients tolerate the pain that may be born of a diseases and discomfort arising from the use of a given kind of medication. So some of these methods used here are analysis and also relaxation technique. And it's saying you still help them to go through the situation they are in. So the technique of the hypnosis and relaxation is one of the examples in order to reduce the pain. Because sometimes in some of the sickness you cannot make it disappear, but you can lessen it through the knowledge and techniques that will be learned by the client. So where does the medical psychologist work? Okay, we research center where studies are done with the aim of getting better ways at handling the relationship that may subsist between the physical and psychological aspect of the diseases, and in health facilities, hospital or otherwise medical center where treatment is given to those in need. And at the same time, medical psychologists providing consultancy services for other psychologists who may not have the medical advantage that this profession has. Like I told you before, even with psychology, there is a psychology courses whereby there is a psychology profession. Some of the psychology, they learn the psychological knowledge only. Okay, but they don't have the specialization. So in this case, the medical psychology, who not only are psychologists but at the same time have the knowledge in medicine, so they can provide the services in order to complement or to help other psychologists as well in providing the psychological consultation. So many psychology words that you're going to come in, you're going to go through in my class. So try to add it in your mind how to separate it one by one. Okay. So medical psychology, what and how? So medical psychology is concerned in the first place with the psychological aspect of the mutual relationship and interaction of doctor and patients and relevant people from the patient versus environment, like I told you. Even the way the doctor discloses the information to the patient will influence the well-being of the client as well. So the main task of medical psychology is to protect the patient and doctor from undesirable technician of medicine, narrow specialization and bureaucratization of the operations of the health service, and to use psychological findings and procedure in prevention of disorder and diseases, and in the treatment and rehabilitation of patients. There's so many things to cover. But what does it mean by bureaucratization is that as you are working, or as a medical psychologist that are working in these health facilities, there are a lot of bureaucracy. Okay? And sometimes they need to work with one another. But that is ideally speaking. But practically speaking, not necessarily. Until now, based on my experience with one of our government hospital, okay, I know the psychologist, but the role of the psychologist over there, by right, is only provide the psychological consultation. But what is happening is, even there are cases not related to them, they still need to cater. While the job is supposed to be given to the medical psychologist. So it is very important. Okay, there is no profession without reason. If there is a profession without reason, something wrong. Somewhere, meaning to say that you short sendiri lah. Okay, but here, no. Actually, it's very important. Later on, as you work, you will know the organization, their goal, their objective will highly influence your work. And sometimes they confuse with your role. So same goes with the medical psychology as well. This is the purpose. So in the case of you here, it's not for you to become a medical psychologist, but just to have the knowledge of the medical psychology to help you find. So always bear that in your mind. So a prerequisite part of this activity is the psychological approach and attitude of the doctor to the patient. So the main feature are the authority and truthfulness, esteem and respect, understanding of the patient and his position. So medical psychology gives patient a care of human dimension. We see human as human, not human as a tool or human as a lab rat. Okay? Above all, subjectivity of the patient, doctor, and their mutual relationship. We see this thing as a whole. So with regard to the true importance of personality and relations for human health and disease medicine, supported by psychology, becomes the true contemporary medicine and the doctor's activities that is considered as legal practice. So what is legal practice? We need to say that this field is actually rightfully being acknowledged, okay, based on the law, according to the rules, okay, in a proper and in a perfect way. Don't worry, I'm intro not so much in your assignment or in your exam. Okay, so based on the who, what is defined as health? A complete state of physical, mental, and also social well-being. That is not merely by the essence of this is like I told you. Sometimes we cannot avoid from the disease, but how to live our life to the fullest. Okay. So now we take a look a little bit of the history. So So those who, don't worry, I'm not going to cover too much, but we just take a look about how does it evolve. So during the prehistory, so most culture regard the mind and body as intertwined. Okay, we need to say there is relationship between mind and also body. So diseases was thought to arise when evil spirit entered the body, and treatment consisted of attempts to exorcise this spirit. So if you are sick during this period of time, you are so pity lah. Meaning to say that when you are sick, that evil spirit came into your body. Thank God we are not in this era. Okay. Then during the Stone Age, okay, trepanning. Okay, the name of the techniques. A surgical method that is believed to be used during this time period, in which part of the skull was drilled to provide an opening through which the evil spirit could escape. Up to that extent. So this is the example of the trepanated skull, okay, during the Iron Age. So you can see here the perimeter of the hole in the skull is rounded off by the ingrown of the new bony tissue, indicating that the patient survived the operation. God bless you, but I think you die anyway. Okay, this is the example of how they do the trepanation. Just imagine that is your brain, that is you being trepanated. Oh, thank God. Okay, now next is the witch ducking stool. So this witch ducking stool is one of the tests used in the Middle Age to establish whether someone is considered as a witch or not. Okay, so a pure bottom, meaning to say that if you are not witch, then you will sink in the bottom and you will drown, while an impure person will be able to keep their head above the water. So the survivors in this technique, by definitions, were witches who were in league, okay, with the devil, and therefore burned at the stake. So in either way, if you are pure, you are going to drown and you will die. So if you survive, you are being burned and you will die as well. So cruel people during that day. Okay, this is one of the concepts that is being introduced in ancient Greeks. That even though it is questionable, but it does help giving the concept of categorizing illness or behavioral problems or personality according to the types. So the ancient Greeks, the one that I show here is actually the four humours that is being called as the Hippocrates Gallus model, okay, whereby based on this point, diseases resulted when there is four humours, in Greek, humours being fluid, okay, or circulating fluids of the body, which is the blood, which is liver, black bile, which is based on the gallbladder, yellow bile according to spleen, and phlegm based on the brain and lungs were out of balance. We need to see, based on this model, you are healthy if you have a balance between these fluids, and it influences your personality as well. Okay, black bile, too many, black bile resulted into you have a depressive temperament. Yellow bile, more on producing you considered as fiery and quick-tempered. Blood resulting into cheerful. Okay, and phlegm is someone who is considered as calm. So based on this model, the healthy personality could be distinguished in terms of four basics with a biological basis in the balance of the four humans. Oh yeah, sure, no problem. Okay. Next is in the Middle Age. Okay, in the Middle Age, people swung back to a supernatural explanation for illness. So we need to say that if you have the disease, we need to say that the God punish you. For what? For evil doing. Again, crazy. So later this form of therapy was replaced by penance through prayers and also good works. Finally something good, even though it's not really workable. Okay? So beginning of the Renaissance, okay, it includes the intervention of the microscope in 16th century and the developments of the science of autopsy